Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Trends KE show. This is our 9th episode, and I can see you're already tuned in. Thank you very much for following our shows each and every time. It is our pleasure to always have you on the show. Tonight, there is so much that has been happening around, and just right now, I've been watching the news, and do you know what has been up? There are a few judges who have been appointed out of the 41 judges that were supposed to be appointed as it had been proposed, but the president had not appointed them. So there are a few who have been appointed, but some of who are involved on that case of BBI, the Constitutional Amendment Bill, they are out of the list, shockingly. So we don't know what happened there. We shall be waiting to hear more from the judiciary and from the appointing power if they had anything to do with that. So much has been happening this week. And just to take you through a few of those, that there was that Madaraka Day. Na kuna vitu nyingi by the way zimefanyika hapo around Madaraka Day until we are wondering, did this Madaraka Day come with a script? Because the whole celebration looked like a total script. Why am I saying this? First, Kanzedena shows up to announce the holiday. And do you know what she said? Let's hear if my producer can play up that.
Ningependa kuwafahamisha ya kwamba Rais Uhuru Kenyatta katika siku kuu ya Madaraka ambayo itaweza kufanywa hapa katika kaunti ya Kisumu atakuwa na mgeni rasmi. Na mgeni wake atakuwa ni Rais wa Burundi anayefahamika kama Rais Evariste Ndayishimiye ambaye ataingia hapa siku ya Jumatatu ambayo itakuwa ni tarehe 35. Atakuwa hapa kwa ziara ya kikazi ya kiserikali ya siku 2 na atakuwa bila shaka ameandamana na baadhi ya mawaziri, bila shaka na wafanyabiashara.
Sasa Kanzedena anatuambia ilikuwa tarehe 35th. Really? Have you ever known of a date 35th? The Madaraka Day was on 35th. And on a bad note, also on the same, the chopper that had carried former Prime Minister, I was just about to call him something else, former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga, crashed. But fortunately, Raila was not in the chopper. He had just landed. Then the chopper crashed. And man, you don't want this country to land again. Go home. Let's have... Yeah, that happened, but we thank God that Baba hakuwa ndani ya hiyo chopper. Then, still on the same Madaraka Day, what else happens? This our in-law from down in South Africa comes and calls Raila Amolo Odinga president. Let's listen into what she exactly said and how the president replied to it.
I'd like to thank my brothers in struggle, President Raila Odinga, Prime Minister President Raila Odinga, President Uhuru Kenyatta, for the joy that they have given to my president to be represented on this day in Kisumu. And again, Mr. President, I'd like you please to join me and say to the people of South Africa, Amandla.
Amandla.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. President Raila Amolo Odinga, Prime Minister President. Okay. That script went to a whole other level. Then still on the same day, do you know someone who was conspicuously missing to this event? Yes, you guessed right. Allah, our own, who is this? Francis Atwoli missed the show, and how Francis Atwoli loves such events. Something should have been up. Someone might have asked, and we are being told that is Atwoli. And previously hiyo nini yake ilikuwa imeng'olewa, mtu akaenda akaweka hapo vitu zake. Lakini sasa tunauliza Murkomen, where was Baba Atwoli when this event was happening? Murkomen in his tweet says that Francis Atwoli alikuwa wapi? Alikuwa ameenda kungoja nini yake ising'olewe on that day. Hiyo nini imeandikwa, signpost yake imeandikwa Francis Atwoli Road. He was there guarding it so that it doesn't get... Actually, that is what he said. Kipchumba Murkomen, senator, alisema wewe jamani kama alikuwa ameenda kulinda nini yake. Ndio maana hakuonekana huko, ndio maana hatukumuona. Yeah. And that was that. Then still in the same event, Madaraka Day. Why I'm telling you this thing was that another thing. Someone tried to approach the president and interrupt him during his speech. Yani all through, ilikuwa imetulia to time president amesimama anataka kuongea. That guy was up. I don't know if my producer has that clip so that you can watch through that guy.
From this region, who taught us that wacha musimu wacha aende mambo yake bwana. Haya, tuendelee sasa.
Yeah, man, it was a hell lot there. But then there is some relief here that I want you to listen to. Let's listen to this guy speaking. Alafu niambie huyu jamaa akikwambia anataka kuvai kukuwa president, kama unaweza mpatia kura yako ama utampatia. Let's have that clip up.
Yes, please.
I'm the elected president through my policies. That one I will put it through over the media. People are getting me very well. So no question. As I said yesterday, my political stance remains the same. Is important is the development is the priority. And teachers are going to be paid money. As I said yesterday, 500,000 shillings per month. This one is due for P1 teachers. Because the life is very much hard, I'm telling you. And the doctor is entirely entitled to get that salary of 2M per month. That's starting salary.
Yes.
Because you have graduated, my friend, and wasted a lot of time in school and college. You have to harvest, my brother.
Yes.
So is this country, it's the country that's making people to live in poverty. Man is there. I told you oil is a resource.
Yes.
Why should we capitalize on this one? The man is there and being used, being misused. I asked about the Kenya Revenue Authority. And this is the comfort of the people. Are we not together?
You are together.
It's our port. Are we together?
You are
now,
together.
It's a parastatal, and I asked people to tell me who's the directors and proprietors of this company. So, no, now tell me where teachers and doctors are going to get money. When is somebody's company and the treasurer existing in the financial ministry under the government? Tell me, my brother. So, money is there. Me as the president, I'm going to give people the priority, and life is going to go on. I'm going to make very sure that the industrialization, rural industrialization is going to be the priority. We are going to create so many industries in rural to create what we call a cohesive society, not a conjunction in the city. We cannot rely on the few resources. In fact, Kenya is not having an industry here. They are relying to revenue, and revenue is somebody's company, my brother, I'm telling you. So I'm going to give Kenyans development that they wanted. A happy nation is a happy nation when it eats and has the resources. The resources are there, investors are coming, my brother. Thank you, and welcome.
Welcome.
That guy vies for presidency with all that sense. Utamnyima kura kweli wewe jamaa venye ameongea hivyo hiyo yote. Man. So, I can see many of you have tuned in. Meshak Washuri, 35th day, longest month of the century. That's from Kanzedena. Who else? Sagini, take over the show. Amazing trends. Deputy President. Mr. President Raila Odinga. Yeah, referring to that South African in-law of ours. Valeria Bramis, thank you for tuning in to the show, Val. Best Star Prof is watching from Nairobi. Thank you very much. Bobo anasema hati Raila anakuanga tu president. The world knows that Raila is the president. Sawa Bobo, maoni yako. Total Kisii, we have two presidents. Yeah, and both of them were standing on the same podium. Yeah, that reminds me of President of the People, Daniel Ojaka, all the way from India. Thank you very much for tuning into the show, Daniel Jaka. Sagini sijui anaongelesha nani hapo, lakini huyo mtu naongelesha amekusikia. Who else is tuned into the show? Reading your comments. Very many of you are still tuning into the show. I can see Two Wheeler Diaries anasema that guy enjoyed being airlifted. Yeah, sure. Who else is tuned in to the show? JK is loving the show. Thank you very much, JK, for tuning into the show. Best Apro from Nairobi. Okay, you're in Nairobi. Yeah, in fact, was waiting for this. Total Akisi hapo. Asante sana. Speaking of Nairobi, I will be telling you of an update if you haven't heard of it yet. Elizabeth Asasha is waiting for the guest speaker. We are getting into that discussion just in a few minutes with our speaker, Charo Furaha. Leo kuna Furaha ndani ya show, kwa hivyo just tune in and wait for her. We are having an amazing discussion tonight. Who else is tuned in to the show? Thank you very much for those comments, which we shall be reading as we go on. And I was telling you about this update. So I think it has already been gazetted that we have a fourth city in Kenya. I'm talking about Nax. What was Nax Vegas? Nakuru is another city. If you didn't know, now you know. So let me tell you of someone, our friend from the streets of Twitter, someone by the name of Xtian. Alikuwa anaitwa watu wakimuita Christian, anasema jina yake inasomwa Xtiandela. So Xtiandela has decided that he wants to become MP and he wants to run in Westlands. Najua MP wa Westlands sahi ni Tim Wanyonyi. So that guy is going for someone's job. That's Xtiandela. And he's saying that as he goes for that, he will be championing for the rights of LGBTQ. Yeah. Hivyo ndio anaenda kucheza kama yeye, na amesema atakuwa na champion for the rights of LGBTQ. Alafu, what I'm really waiting to see is to see how Xtiandela is going to convert his numerous tweets and retweets and tags into votes. I'm very eager to see that because he is very popular on social media. So hizo likes nataka kuona venye ataziconvert zikuwe kura. Hapo ndio mimi nitakuwa nikingojea. There is another friend of ours, you know Embarambamba. So there is another Embarambamba in our MP, one MP from Western called Titus Hamala. Titus Hamala kwanza ni pastor, he's a reverend. Aliamua mtu wake mwenye ataimitate atakuwa Embarambamba. Let's see what happened here in this clip that my
Musalia ni mwanaume mnyororo, ni mwanaume mwororo, ni mwanaume mpole, ni mwanaume wa furaha, ni mwanaume wa uchumi. Musalia hana matusi kwa mtu, Musalia hawezi nyonga mtu kwa shingo, Musalia anakonyera mundu mwingori tawe. Musalia ni mtu mpole. Kali nipo na kubaluya bakoyananga. Ni rongobere ni sasirongo, nasema nani ameroka Waluya. Waluya unyolo to musaza no kulongi alachenda sana borokora nabo ala Musalia bula watisa. Nenda watisa. Kama wewe utaki Musalia, si usimame sisi tukuunge mkono. Useme Musalia hawezi lakini mimi nitaweza. Sasa wewe hutaweza. Na sisi utaki tuunge Musalia. Unataka nani? Wanacho.
So this guy decides to pull an Embarambamba on us. Okay, it's fine. And going on, kuna huyu jamaa anaitwa Diamond Platnumz all the way from TZ. So Diamond has been nominated as to the BET. Amenominatiwa kwa BET. Alafu, so much has been happening around Diamond lately. And that actually has gotten me questioning, is what is happening around Diamond just genuine, or is it a script to pull the attention of the audience towards him? So that's it. As you can see, he's a nominee for Best International Act kwa BET. Alafu, to start off, our sister, I'm talking about Tanasha Donna, unfollows Diamond, goes ahead and deletes all Diamond's photos kwa account ya mtoto wake. And then Zari, the boss lady, goes and gets into some drama pale with some other guy until she was saved from the reporters by her bodyguard, because he's in another drama with a totally different guy. Then coming up, we are also told Diamond also has another new catch. And to add on that, Wema Sepetu, who is also in that line ya Baba Abraham, has another story na recross all the way from USA. So that gets me questioning, is all this drama happening around Diamond really genuine, ama ni script imechorwa to draw attention to Diamond so that people can vote for him? Because every time you mention Wema Sepetu, you have to think of Diamond. Every time you mention Tanasha, every time you mention Zari, hiyo list yake yote, lazima Diamond is somewhere behind there. So even the Tanzanian parliament, they have come out to actually ask for support for Diamond in his bid. Yeah, BET. Let's listen into what was going on in
Naomba Diamond Platinum asaidiwe kuhakikisha kwamba anashinda tuzo anayogombea, kwa sababu in the name of the country. Ukiachana na hivi vitu vyote, kwanza ukweli usopingika, anafanya vizuri. Huo ndio ukweli. Anafanya vizuri, very good. Kwa hiyo tuna sababu pia, kila sababu ya kumsaidia. Lakini pia Mheshimiwa Spika, nimalizie kwenye upande wa wasanii wetu. Kwenye namna gani tunaweza tukalinda kazi za wasanii wetu. Na kwa kweli Mheshimiwa Spika, pamoja na mambo yote, serikali imekuwa ina mkono mzito.
Yeah, that's it. So, and just following that, hao ndio wanasema wanataka jamaa wetu wanaitwa Diamond akwe voted. I think we should also emulate that, because recently hadi our own OG Calligraph Jones alikuwa nominated, but hiyo support haikukuja hivyo venye ilitakikana. Today something else happened. I think you've seen this in news. Somewhere in Kitui, something happened and it's yani kuelewa ni ngumu sana. So there is this guy, huyu jamaa wetu hapo kutoka Kitui. Kuna eagle ni mwewe, si ndio? Nashuku ni mwewe, siko sure by the way. Alikuja akaangusha nyoka. The snake was still alive. Aliangusha nyoka kwa gari ya huyu jamaa. And then the snake went through kwa side mirror, beat this jamaa ikamuuma. Then a few minutes later, after jamaa ameumwa, hiyo eagle akarudi akabeba nyoka wake akaenda naye. Where on earth does it happen like that other than Kitui? Yeah, jamaa aliumwa na nyoka, aliletewa nyoka akaumwa ikatoka ikaenda. Also on these streets, there is another new sensation, this guy that has been trending all through, mostly on Instagram. Huyu jamaa ukimsikia ako na kibwagizo, everything at the end of it lazima akuambie kwani ni kesho ish. Huyu jamaa actually talks sense some of the times, and let's listen in to one of the things that he's
I'm the storm. Before something's a breakthrough, it was once a crazy idea. Calligraph Jones, be inspired but don't copy. Kwani ni kesho ni vibe ya 58. These days, fame is disconnected from excellence. B-boys, make it happen.
Yeah, that's the guy. Akiongea lazima aseme kwani ni kesho. Then I don't know if my producer has that clip yenye alikuwa na refer to, because he was copied by Calligraph. So Calligraph anataka kutoa wimbo akitumia hiyo vibe yake kwani ni kesho. We have Furaha Charo. Leo kuna furaha hapa kwenye show. We are going to talk about the challenges that women face in their professions. That is what we're going to discuss. So keep sending your questions, your concerns, maoni na mapendekezo. Tafadhali endeleeni kuyatuma na kuyaleta kwa wingi sana. Furaha Charo, welcome to the show.
Yes. Thank you so much, Cedrick. Good evening.
Good evening to you. I hope you're doing fine. So I'll just get into it very fast. At the mention of these women, let's talk about Kamala Harris, talk of who is this? The president of TZ, Suluhu Hassan, talk of our own CJ, Martha Koome. What comes to your mind when you hear of these women?
When I hear of those women, all that comes to my mind is that women are shattering glass. They are shattering ceilings, and they are making the way for the rest of us. And it's really encouraging. And I think it's really a wake up call to the entire female fraternity that it's possible. And I mean, even ladies can do it.
Yeah, sure thing. And on that, let's talk about you, if you don't mind. In your journey,
sure.
So first you'll tell us what you do, and then just briefly tell us, as a lady, what kind of challenges have you encountered in your journey to your profession?
Okay, thank you so much, Cedrick. So for that, I'll start to say that as highlighted in the poster is that I mainly work around public policy and mainly around issues of land and good governance. And I'd like to talk about just general challenges, because you see, like there's my experience, and then of course I've interacted so much, especially maybe with materials or of also people who are a bit older than me, and then of course they are the younger generation. So I'd wish to speak for 3 generations, and therefore maybe some of the challenges that are really pertinent that majority of ladies, us females face. I'd categorize them into just around 2, mainly society and also culture to some extent, because you find like some cultural values and norms most favor patriarchy. So you find, and therefore, as a result, therefore, most ladies from the very early stages, we are majority, we are not able to access education, and therefore, as a result of that, now when you cannot access education, maybe you want to pursue maybe a particular career, that's already a challenge, that's a barrier. And therefore, you find from the onset, I mean, if you're left out of education, therefore, you find from the onset, you're groomed to become maybe like a wife, a mother, you see. And therefore, I mean, being left out of education, therefore, it means you're unable to compete equally with with the other gender when it comes to the job market. So that is a challenge. And when you talk about maybe the other bit whereby maybe like a lady has gone to school and has adequate experience and everything, you find that sometimes even at the jobless, maybe if you're talking maybe about promotions and even other opportunities, you find that somehow your competency is in comparison, maybe they all have the same maybe years of experience, they all have the same level of education. Yes, but you find the competency, the ladies treated differently because this is a lady and probably maybe is not as competent as the equal partner.
Yeah, sure. And we had talked about that earlier, and I had told you why is it that some, especially media outlets, when they are referring to a lady who is in a profession that is assumed to be male dominated, they will refer to the lady as a lady engineer, a lady that, instead of just saying so and so is doing this work, and to say that that's not the way to go?
I believe, I mean, we are moving past that because, okay, way before, probably maybe those were social constructions, like some professions were left aside for some gender. And now that we are finding that also some females are strongly coming out, like for instance, recently we saw that in Kenya, we've just gotten a female chief justice. I mean, we've gotten a chief justice, yes, for the first time. And we in Tanzania, we have Suluhu, as he had earlier on mentioned. We are seeing Kamala Harris being the vice president of the US. And there are lots of other global appointments, both in leadership, in politics, in business, ladies are really shattering those ceilings. They are making way for the rest of us for the rest of us following. And therefore, I think we need to move, even the media, when reporting, they need to be also sensitive, because you see, like, I don't see the reason why you should say like a female CEO or like a female engineer, Point is, it's a CEO, it's an engineer. You don't have to say to specify the gender for the message to be out there. So I think also that's a challenge for you, the media also, because this is the media industry.
Yeah.
That you also need to be cognizant too, even when doing your reporting.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's something that mostly journalists need to work on. But then there is another issue which we had discussed earlier before the show began. You will find that in instances where allegedly, in most cases, ladies have always cried out that there are sexual harassment, cases of sexual harassment at their places of work. And then there is, on the other hand, you'll hear many people saying that there are ladies who actually, in quote unquote, sleep around to make their way up the ladder in their profession. So do you think that the second part, where people say that actually either you are showing yourself to the boss because you wanted it, or are we just using that to run away from the fact that there is actually sexual harassment at places of work?
Yeah, thank you so much, Cedric, for that question. And I think talking about issues of sexual harassment, I think it's just wrong at the workplace. And it should not, we need to separate issues of sexual harassment and issues of maybe like promotions. Because, actually, most of the times it's the stigma around it. Because you find most of the times, maybe when a lady gets a promotion in a particular maybe company or entity, you find that most of the times it's like she slept her way up there. And I think that's wrong. Yeah. And I think on the issues, yes. So I think even going forward, we need to, if it's a case of sexual harassment, it needs to be treated differently. But also this stigma around that ladies have to sleep their way up the corporate ladder also needs to be, it also needs to be addressed. And also it needs to be, it needs to be addressed, because it's unfair. Because you'll find like maybe a lady is so hardworking, but just because maybe she's, some people are just free-spirited and maybe they talk to almost everyone at the office and maybe they are just nice. Yes. So you find like most of the time, it leads to maybe like those. Yes, so I feel it's really unfair. And if it's an issue of sexual harassment, it needs to be addressed as such. And that stigma around linking promotions to sexual favors, at this age and time, it should not be tolerated at all.
Yeah, sure thing. Because some people might even be afraid of moving up the ranks because you are a lady, and someone will say, "How did you get there at your age?"
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You talked of culture. You talked of culture and some of the things that young girls go through. Just the other day was the Menstrual Hygiene Day, International Menstrual Hygiene Day. And I want you to address that issue also in part with the issue of FGM, female genital mutilation, how these cultures and the lack of like sanitary pads, mostly to ladies, how they eventually affect their way through education and their ability or capability of rising into professions, which is something that we know must be cultivated from that young age.
Yeah, I think when you are commemorating the World Menstrual Health Day, I think I came across a petition that had been presented before court, trying to advocate for provision of free sanitary towels to ladies. And I think I totally support that, because you find in those very rural areas, or basically in most setups, you find that girls miss school during when they are on their menses. And I think therefore that makes it somehow it disadvantages them when it comes maybe to performance and everything in school. So I think the government needs to make it needs to be intentional about it, and fast track that process, or rather that policy of seeing that girls are able to get or rather are able to access free sanitary towels in all learning institutions, especially the primary and mostly primary, because I understand most of them menstruation starts at that stage. So I think that conversation needs to be, it needs to keep going. And I've seen a lot of people have been rallying around it, like the likes of Janet Mbugua and among other very prominent media personalities. So I think it's something that we really need to consider moving forward to enhance access to education, even for the girl child. And then issues of FGM, I think, well, I understand culture sometimes it takes time before we are able to, to totally eradicate some of these cultural constructions that are somehow detrimental to the girl child. But I think as we are moving forward, there have been a lot of progress in terms of awareness creation on the negative impacts of FGM, and I'd really commend NGOs and different institutions that are still going down there to the ground and talking to these families and to these elders towards abolishing FGM totally, because I think we need to do away with it completely.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Furaha. And I want to give an advice to this young lady. But before that, we shall also be getting comments from our audience. There are so many questions that I'm seeing in the comment section, which I'll be reading. But first, I want you to, as you think about an advice you'll give to a young lady who wants to grow into her profession and she's still somewhere, maybe in primary school or in high school. First, I want you to say that in reference to this clip that we are going to watch by Kamala Harris that she gave during her time of inauguration, if my producer can play that.
I'm thinking about her and about the generations of women, Black women, Asian, white, Latina, Native American women who throughout our nation's history have paved the way for this moment tonight. Women who fought and sacrificed so much for equality and liberty and justice for all, including the Black women who are too often overlooked, but so often prove they are the backbone of our democracy. All the women who have worked to secure and protect the right to vote for over a century, 100 years ago with the 19th Amendment, 55 years ago with the Voting Rights Act, and now in 2020 with a new generation of women in our country who cast their ballots and continued the fight for their fundamental right to vote and be heard. Tonight I reflect on their struggle, their determination, and the strength of their vision to see what can be unburdened by what has been. And I stand on their shoulders. And what a testament it is to Joe's character that he had the audacity to break one of the most substantial barriers that exists in our country and select a woman as his vice president.
Yeah, that last bit of it, to this young girl, what would you tell her that is awaiting her in her journey to professionalism, and what is she supposed to do about that?
Yes, I think, I mean, those are very encouraging words right there from Kamala Harris. And what I would really, what I'd really urge fellow, girls, who are young and probably are watching this interview, I'd just encourage them that just study hard. Of course, there are no shortcuts in life. You have to. It's a process. You have to study. I mean, and nowadays, at least, I've seen there are lots of there are scholarships that are some like the government have tried to create some scholarships that target girls and generally just well-performing students. So I'd really encourage girls to just focus on their education. Just play your part. God will do the rest. That is all I can encourage them. Play your part, and if possible, also get a mentor, get somebody, whether it's at school, whether it's one that's one teacher, that female teacher maybe that you look up to, or maybe just maybe your elder sister, just anyone, but work hard. God will do the rest. And of course, get a mentor who will maybe just somebody whom you can talk to, and somebody maybe who can guide you through some of these career decisions in life. Yeah.
Sure thing. Thank you very much for that encouragement. It has gotten to them, and thank you very much to our audience, those who are tuned in on Facebook and on YouTube. Continue watching the show. We are now getting to some questions from our audience, and the first question here coming up just in a while. Where is that? Here it is. Alex Onsaze is asked, women do not empower their female counterparts. Juu ya wivu ama sijui nini. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I think I don't know where that notion is coming from. But I think I've seen slowly women supporting each other, people going to schools and starting going back to their schools, like through the alumni associations and doing some mentorship programs. I've seen I've seen a lot of overwhelming support. And I think with the realization that the world is changing, things are moving, it's possible for, actually, there was a time there was a conversation that probably maybe it's like the boy child has been forgotten, and so much attention has been given to the girl child. So for me, from my end, all I can see is just there've been massive support towards the girl child. Yes.
Yes, and another question here, if my producer can put it up. There are so many questions that are streaming in. Benjamin Maranja is concerned about the snake issue. Then nice seeing you too. That's Asasha, Elizabeth Asasha, and thanks to her, I got to meet Furaha, whom we are having tonight on the show. Thank you very much, Asasha. Kanzo Ngugi is tuned in.
Elizabeth.
Lumumba Felix from Kitui, that must be a joke. Lumumba is tuned in. Kevin Falt Negaga ndio wanafika sasa. Thank you very much Negaga. Cleophas Oluoch welcome Furaha, nice having you here tonight. What makes women stand out and shine at their professions without feeling inferior? If you got that, Furaha.
Yes, I think confidence. It all starts with confidence. It's though I understand that because we are brought up in different settings, and maybe with patriarchy, you might find maybe like some of them maybe like they have like maybe maybe there's esteem issues, maybe because of lack of confidence. They've not been that support maybe from the very background coming up. And so I just like to encourage that, for you to be in a particular position, you must have been qualified to be there. There's a reason as to why you're there. So just encourage all ladies out there, just let's be confident in what we do, because you're there because you're competent and you're enough for that particular position that you're currently holding at whatever entity. And of course, there's the opportunities for growth and promotion and everything. So it's all possible.
Yeah, and there's another question here from Best Shaprof. He's asking, does LGBTQ influence the workability and women professionalism? You look good, Sister Furaha. I'm saying you look good, and that question about LGBT.
Thank you, Shaprof. About LGBT and whether it influences workability, I don't think it does, because you see these issues of LGBTI, that's about sexual orientation. It has nothing to do with performance at work. So I don't think it should really, okay, at least from my perspective, I don't think it has anything to do with performance or professionalism at the workplace.
What about the whole issue of that denial of the society about the existence of it, and how actually someone might be perceived without saying it by even workmates?
Oh yes, you meant maybe like stigma, maybe because somebody belongs to the LGBT community.
Yeah, I think something like that.
Yeah, around that, I think in as much there's growing liberalization towards freedom to to do anything, whatever sexual orientation one wants. I think there's still, because I think I meant to understand it's something that has been going on, but recently we've seen more people coming out, and therefore society is yet to adjust to that reality. But I think it shouldn't really affect even it should not affect it should not affect issues of maybe like competence and everything, because whether one is LGBTQ or not, I think that's their own sexual orientation. And if somebody maybe is competent for a particular job, because maybe like at a particular organization, maybe like there are some values you need to adhere to, there's some professionalism. So long as one is able to do like to mark like clear boundaries, to make a clear separation between work conduct and the other things, then I don't think that should be a reason, or rather should be something to perpetrate bias against maybe like women who belong to the LGBT community.
Yeah, sure. And then a last question from me. We had discussed this earlier. You get, for instance, in media houses, some pressure comes actually from the management that ladies should dress in a certain way, and the appearance should be in a certain way to express their femininity. And then sometimes it goes to a greater extent. For instance, there is a lady who was being bashed on social media because of how she had dressed while doing news. So is it a case of my dress, my choice, or is there anything that is against women, or someone should just dress the way they feel? Is it a must for someone to express their femininity at their place of work under duress or even at their own pleasure?
Okay, thank you. I think we had that conversation before the interview. Okay, for me personally, what I believe, in every organization has its own code of conduct, and I believe the code of conduct cuts across even the way you dress and everything. So I think it should be limited to that. But you see, sometimes maybe sometimes maybe there's this pressure maybe from social media and other platforms. But for me, I believe that every entity, every organization has its own code of conduct, as well. Every profession has its also own code of conduct. So I think there shouldn't be so much pressure around it.
Yeah.
Around yes.
Yeah, sure. And there's another question here from JL Empire. Are women working in corporate world at more risk due to COVID-19?
I think everyone is at risk from COVID currently. So I don't think it's really limited to just women, but I think everyone is at risk. And I've seen, what I've seen is that for some organizations, they've tried doing some are working in shifts, some are working from home. So I think the issue of COVID and the risk to contract COVID is not just limited to women, but everyone in general.
And Justina Kageni is asking, have you been in a position where you have to choose between family and your career, or have you ever met women who have had the same challenge?
Personally, I've not been in such a position, but I've met women who have been in such a position. And I think I've also had conversations because, I read a lot and also listen to lots of conversation generally about career and everything. And one thing that really came out, or rather stood out from those conversations, is that your partner needs to understand your career and support you as well.
Yeah.
And it needs to be mutual. Yes. So I think about careers and relationships, I think it's all about having a conversation and somebody, you need to support each other in your relevant careers.
Yes, and David Stamba here saying that our guest tonight is very eloquent. Yani, she is just dropping points like a mixtape.
Thank you, Davis.
Yeah, and Cleophas there saying that he has someone who is going through depression due to the lack of balance. Looking forward to the answer, the one that you have just answered about family and work. Then kuna mtu ameporomosha Kiswahili mahali Bwize anaitwa Bwize Bobo anasema ya kwamba let me get ready to read that Swahili. Furaha, Mwenyezi azidi kukusimamia. Wewe ni kitia moyo na mfano bora wa kuigwa kwa wadada wote, na pia inatupa sote changamoto ya kuwa imara. Manake kama wewe ni mtoto wa kike na umekabili changamoto, basi ni a wake up call. Na amechanganya na Kiswahili hapo. Furaha, huo ujumbe unakuendea wewe.
Yes, nimeusoma na nimenote na nimeshukuru.
Asante sana. Toto la kike, the name of the guest is Furaha. Anakaa tu mtu wa furaha. Yani tonight on the show it has been pure happiness. Yeah, and someone else there, Terry Karanja, play your part. Thanks, Furaha. She has picked a point there.
Thank you, Terry.
Yeah, another comment here, Alex says, why don't women have the same access to career making roles as men, Furaha?
Well, I don't think there's a specific answer to that. Maybe it's a whole range of factors that could be attributed to that. But I think some of them, some of the issues that I had mentioned earlier on, like issues of just stigmatization, some issues around some retrogressive cultural practices that maybe limit ladies' access to access to education from the very lower level. And sometimes the issue of stigmatization now come up maybe at the corporate or even business level. So I'd say it's a whole, there are lots of issues around it, but they mainly border around issues, issues of culture, some of the cultural values and norms, and some of the confine women in general.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yani ingekuwa furaha yangu leo, Furaha, tukuwe na muda mwingi sana for this conversation. But unfortunately, I can see time is not on our side. So many people had tuned in and they have so many questions. Constant Rehema there is tuned in from Kilifi. Go Furaha, super proud of you. That's from Constant Rehema.
Thank you, Rehema.
Lumumba Felix is also tuned in. Elizabeth Asasha tuned in. Kenzo Ngugi, and so many people here. Augustine Ilondanga, thanks so much, bro, for tuning in. JL Empire. So many people had tuned into the show and they were expecting a lot. Lakini time nayo imekuwa fupi sana. So in just briefly, hey, kabla niende huko, hata kuna mtu asharusha swali lingine. Muulize Furaha mtazamo wake kuhusu jinsi tunaweza kuwarai wadogo wetu kuhusu kazi bila ubaguzi, tafadhali.
Wow, jinsi tunaweza kuwarai wadogo wetu kuhusu kazi bila ubaguzi. Okay, maybe ningesema maybe issues of I don't think if I've gotten the question. Maybe if you could paraphrase it for me kindly.
I think it's trying to say something like kuchagua, maybe I want to be a doctor, I must be a nurse, I must be this and that. I think that's what it means.
Oh, like ni kama career advice hivi venye tunaweza guide. Okay,
yeah,
I think as I had earlier on mentioned, it's good that we get mentors, and sometimes we encourage even young girls at the very low level, whether it's in primary or even high school, to just get somebody, whether it's a teacher, just somebody whom they can talk to, mtu mwenye anaweza kupatia ushauri, somebody who can just advise you maybe on the different career paths that one can take. And I think maybe sometimes it's a challenge, because you see, like, okay, I've seen schools that have started these alumni associations where they go to schools, they talk to kids, they talk to girls and girls, or rather maybe if we have sisters, that whenever maybe there are these events and people come, whether it's an alumni or maybe just somebody has come to talk to the girls, it's good that as girls we just become tunakuwa outgoing, you know. We approach these people, we just talk to them. Yes, because I think sometimes maybe like somebody, maybe, you know, maybe sometimes maybe like somebody maybe is just reserved, maybe they're like afraid, maybe if I talk to this person, maybe she will be harsh, or maybe she will keep me off or something. But I'd really encourage girls to just come out and just talk to people and just get that advice that we really need.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much for that. Very detailed. In fact, kuna mtu hapa anasema urudi hadi next week, yani amebambika tu sana.
Asante.
So you'll be the one to take the show home tonight, because I can see time is really gone. Your last remarks, Furaha.
Okay. My last remark would be that I think so much is happening around the world. We are seeing that ladies are there's a lot that we can do, and there are lots of opportunities. We've seen people doing it, so it's possible even for us. So as I earlier on mentioned, I think we need to also play our part, because sometimes also there's the issue of the victim mentality, that there's no, like, there's, this has not been done, what are you doing yourself? So I'd really encourage young girls, out there to be outgoing, to just play their part, whether it's school or whether it's getting somebody to talk to. And you see nowadays with even social media, you find with this era of phones, and you see there's lots of very useful materials one can access on these online platforms, be it YouTube, be it Google. There's a lot of useful material, because I understand nowadays most students in high schools, most of them even have phones, and they can access phones at least during holidays, maybe from their parents, and they're able to go through they can access internet and everything, or even through the libraries, understand their laptops, and in those laptops one can access the internet. So I'd really encourage young girls out there to just stay focused, do your part, and there's lots of useful and even motivational materials out there that we can make good use of, and God will do the rest. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much. And as you can see down there, we have our takeout. Play your part. Everybody should play their part. Thank you very much, Charo, Furaha, for heading to our call and turning up for the show, and for the great inspiration and comments that you've given and replies to our questions. And thank you to our audience, all of you. Kuna wenye hatujasoma maswali zenu. Thank you very much for tuning into the show. Good night and God bless you until next